People say that this kick is too risky, that it's not even worth practicing because you're gonna break your toes. However, you got world champions like Masaki Noiri, Takaru, and Shane Campbell have been proving all those people in the Instagram comment section wrong for years. Go figure. Now let me tell you why I'm so passionate about this, because earlier this year, I was offered an opportunity to take one more fight. And I got to thinking, if there was one technique I practiced more than anything else, it's this one right here. Toe kicks. So in this video, I'm gonna break down why it works, how to throw them safely, and how to condition your toes to weaponize this totally underutilized technique. Let's do it. All right, let's address the skepticism first, because yes, I can break my toes throwing a kick. I hit someone in the elbow or the knee, and I'm intending to hit with my shin, but they adjust their guard, and I stub my toe. Right, break my toe. Happens all the time. Why does that happen though? It's because A, the toes aren't conditioned, and maybe your shin is, and I'm expecting to hit with my shin, and then I hit with my toes, but that's also because I'm throwing it with this reckless abandonment. Whereas if I'm concentrating on hitting with my toes, I'm focused less on power and I'm focused more on the placement. And if I can stab quickly, not with power, but just enough to poke and get a reaction out of them, this is gonna send so deep into the ribs, into the liver. It can tear an abdomen muscle. Look, I play with my nephew all the time and I say, I'm gonna beat you with one finger. And I just poke him like this and he's doing all this, right? But also think about how it threads the needle, right? Think about how we block kicks like this, right? But if that shin comes across my arm and I flex my toe and I hit, it's gonna bypass the guard. But the intention has to be there. I have to throw the kick with the intention of hitting with my big toe and being accurate, not just winging it like a haymaker like I do with my roundhouse kicks. Okay, so now let's look at proper setups and how to condition the toes. Before we get into the technique and the setups and the conditioning, I want to talk about general theory when it comes to striking in general, right? Let's talk about boxing. If I'm throwing flicker jabs from out here, what is the intention? What is the function of this punch? It's not to knock Bob out. It's to get him to reach, to blink, to flinch, to disrupt his defense so that I can increase the chances of landing my follow-up shot. Right, and go down the list. I can punch the shoulder to disrupt his rhythm. I can slap or push on his wrist to create an angle. And think about the verbs that I used right there. Disrupt, or to create an angle. It's the same thing with our kicks, right? I can smash with my kicks, I can sweep with my kicks, and I can stab with my kicks. Now, it wouldn't be a toe kick video without mentioning Savate and Nicolas, who's an absolute kickboxing legend and continues to work with some of the highest level athletes. Now, you may not have even recognized it in the moment because you weren't consciously looking for it, but kickboxing world champion Jackie Buntan, when she fought Anissa Meksen, another legend in herself, they were both using Savate toe kicks in this fight. In fact, Coach Nicolas worked with Jackie Buntan to help prepare her for Anissa Meksen. But you can see in these clips the hook shape of Jackie's leg. She's intentionally flexing her foot in that dorsiflexion angle so that she can stab. Now we're gonna dive a little deeper and look at the actual setups and the timing behind when she's throwing these so that she's not hitting Anissa's elbow or her knee. And we'll get there in a second, but first I wanna talk about conditioning so that you're not breaking your toes when practicing this kick. Okay, so with the French martial art that is Savate, traditionally they wear shoes. So I don't have Savate shoes, but the brand Paluva sent me some of these toe shoes, not sponsored by this video, but they sent me a free pair, and I was like, yo, you know what this would be perfect for? And it's, no, not my OnlyFans account, it's for practicing my toe kicks. Now, I've talked about conditioning the knuckles, training bare knuckle on the heavy bag, and we're gonna kind of follow some of those same rule of thumb when it comes to not relying on power to conditioning our hands and remaining patient throughout the process, knowing that it's gonna take a significant amount of time to strengthen the muscles, the tendons, the ligaments, and the bones themselves when we do our conditioning. But a way to gradually get there is to protect your hands, right? With gloves, if you're training bare knuckle, but if you're training toe kicks, why not invest in a pair of these? And this way you have some armor, you have some protection around your toes, and then you build up the pain tolerance, if you will, or the discomfort. Now, obviously you're not smashing your toes, you're not breaking your toes. That's not the intention. The intention is to make them stronger gradually over the process in which you're kicking something soft relatively like a heavy bag, and then you work your way up into a firmer heavy bag. In addition to that, diet is very important, right? So how are you refueling your body and how are you healing? These are the supplements I take every single morning. So you see I have an antioxidant juice, collagen, which is good for your hair, nails, bones, and connective tissue. A B complex, which is important for overall energy and metabolism. I take magnesium at night, helps me sleep, also great for heart and bone health. Of course, omega-3 fish oil, which is great for lubricating the joints. Pro tip, you see on the left there, I also have my local bee pollen, which has been great for preventing seasonal allergies. I don't know who else suffers from those. And a glucosamine with MSM, which is great for strengthening joint tissue and cartilage. And that little dropper there is vitamin D, which is great for calcium absorption. So whatever I eat, I'm making sure that I'm getting calcium to strengthen my bones, and then the vitamin D helps absorb that calcium. None of this stuff is sponsored. This is just the stuff that I personally use to make sure that my body feels healthy and recovered after a hard training session and after practicing my toe kick. So let's do that now. Okay, so if you follow any of my bare knuckle conditioning protocols, you know that it's a gradual process. I'm not worried about smashing the heavy bag. Instead, I'm looking for proper connection with the knuckles, hitting with the proper part of my hand, making sure that my wrist is in proper alignment, and I'm starting off slow and easy, and I'm gonna gradually go a little bit harder, and I'm gonna give myself plenty of rest, plenty of breaks, and this is gonna be over months, over years of practice to make sure that I am not injuring my hands and I'm actually just making them stronger. Now, it's the same concept with my toe kicks. I'm gonna do 10 toe kicks, and I'm gonna focus on hitting the proper area, and I'm not just winging it. I'm not throwing it with reckless abandonment. I'm looking for proper connection, hitting with the proper part of my toes, and making sure that my foot is in proper alignment. Now, when it comes to Savate and when it comes to studying the footage that I have been, people have talked about making a hook shape or dorsiflexion with your foot and also squeezing the toes together. So you have to be able to do that with your toes, and that takes a lot of practice. And it's hard to be able to do that with your toes, especially mid-kick, so that you can recruit the muscles and kind of create one solid surface with your foot right before that kick lands. It's similar to the way that we squeeze our fist when we're throwing our punches to make sure that we stay protected and we inflict the most amount of damage. Okay, so again, what we're gonna do is just fire off 10 kicks with one leg, and then we're gonna switch and go to the opposite leg for 10 more kicks. And we're gonna do that for 3 sets. Now, I don't want you to rely on the shoe if you are practicing with the shoe on. Just like when you're throwing with boxing gloves on, you don't wanna rely on the cushion of the boxing gloves on, right? You can get away with landing with your thumb maybe, but if you do that bare knuckle, you're gonna break your thumb. It's the same thing with your foot. You don't wanna rely on the cushion or the padding around the shoe. You wanna make sure that you have proper alignment so that when you take your shoe off, you can still throw it with significant amount of force behind it without hurting yourself. Remember what your intention is. It's to stab. It's to tear an abdomen muscle. It's to hit that solar plexus or the liver or the inside of the thigh. Now, working on your conditioning is crucial, but I would argue that even more important than conditioned toes is throwing it at the correct time. So let's talk about technique and proper setups. So someone just the other day said to me, are those your toe shoes? Yeah, you would wear toe shoes, wouldn't you, Shane? And I don't know if I should take offense to that or take it as a compliment. Anyway, the point is, if you're gonna practice your toe kicks, I recommend that you start with shoes on, try it with the toes, with the paluvas, and then work your way up to doing it barefoot. Because when you do it barefoot, you're forced to throw it properly with proper form. So again, we're dorsiflexing, hooking our foot, and I'm also recruiting my toes together, trying to make one surface area so that I can stab with that, bang, with the big toe. I got a comment from someone who said, what if my middle toe is longer than my big toe? I guess you got to condition that middle toe then, or shave that sucker down. I don't know. So again, we're trying to hit with the big toe, but ultimately trying to recruit it to make it one sharp stabbing weapon so that we can hit to where? Well, let's talk about targets now. So the solar plexus is right below where your sternum is, and you can push in and you can feel it. And if you push in hard enough, it hurts. You know why? Because your liver's right there. And people say, no, it's not. Liver's over here. No, it's not. Check up on your anatomy. The liver is huge, and it goes all the way across, all the way to the opposite side of your body. All right, so it's not just on the right side, it goes over into the left, and right there is the solar plexus, very soft area where you see a lot of people go down from body shots, from knees, and at range, bang, we stab, all concentrated in that big toe right there. We've also got the liver, and we talked about how that hooking motion of the foot can bypass around the guard. How do we block a kick to the body with our arms? Usually we do a 3-point block, right? 1, 2, 3 points of contact. Well, look, if I hook my foot, that hook is now gonna go around the elbow and hit me right in the liver. Okay, same if I block up high. I can hit the temple, I can hit the neck, I can hit behind the jaw, okay? And also, think about this, eye pokes are illegal in every combat sport. What about a toe kick? Look up the rules. Technically, you can do that. So imagine having dexterity so good that I can stab to the eyes with my toes. Technically legal. Crazy, I know, a little dirty, maybe, but it's kind of the name of the game. And then what we saw in that fight with Anissa versus Jackie is they were both throwing inside low kicks, but they were stabbing with the toe. Some of them hurt so bad that to me it looked like borderline low blow, but maybe it hurt so much that Anissa called it a low blow so you could buy herself some time and recover. But I want you to look at the timing of this. It's after a kick is thrown, Jackie defends against the kick and hits the support leg. High chances of landing, low chances of Anissa defending against this because that's her balance leg. She has to wait for this foot to come back down before she can lift her leg up. So the risk of you hitting someone's knee or someone's shin or someone's elbow is lower if you throw it at the correct time, like after blocking a kick, stepping in and stabbing the inside of the thigh. Some other footwork that we can do to rely on this that I worked with in my sparring and saw some great results is a shift backwards. So a shift is when we take our lead leg and we swing all the way back into southpaw, and then we can fire off this kick, and we can do that from either side. I swing back and bang, stab that kick. Another one, just like we talked about in my previous video with Luke Lisi, he likes the spot kick. Let him come to you, and all you're gonna do is shift your weight back. You're gonna pivot on this foot and you're gonna kick, but we're gonna kick with our toes, okay? Also, it's not just round kicks with the toe kicks, right? Going to the liver, going to the thighs, go to the head. We can also do it as a teep. Now, Damian Alamos talked about this. This is a multiple-time Lumpini Muay Thai world champion talking about toe kicks. Okay, so if you can make a hybrid style, and he also happens to be French, so I think it may be the French Savate connection there.
The belly button, yeah, or even a bit lower. In Thailand, we're allowed to teep the groin. I won't do it today, Shane, don't worry.
Thank you.
But it's very dominant, right? Straight there, boom, back leg. Then here, boom. See, that's a bit more towards the hip. See the reaction that I got from this teep? It's not pushing him, but it's rather like kind of bending him or pushing his hips away. It's a good defend one as well. If he starts to come inside, boom, I'll just keep him in that range, right? He starts to come, boom. Yeah, he gets a switch, boom. Yeah, you get a switch, boom.
But stabbing, boom, with the toes, bang, as a front kick. So instead of just pushing, we talked about function or the verb. I'm not pushing like I do with a traditional teep. I'm stabbing, trying to tear an abdomen muscle. A couple of different setups to this can just be that rear leg that stabs, or what Damian likes to do is he fakes that one and then he steps on the ground so that he fires off the lead one. So here, bang, and stabbing with the ball of the foot. I'm sorry, not the ball of the foot. And actually, that's a good point. I'm gonna leave that in there. That's not a mess up. Because people were like, Shane, when you did the video on the toe kicks a month ago, were you talking about the ball of the foot or were you talking about the toes? Two different techniques. Ball of the foot, bang. Toes, bang. Depends on what I'm trying to achieve, right? Depends on if my toes are conditioned or not. So, look at the angle of my foot when I hit with the ball of the foot. Look at the angle of my foot when I hit with the toes. All right, it's gonna give me a little bit more range. It's gonna be a little bit more concentrated. Very similar, but still a different technique. Ball of the foot, toes, toes, ball of the foot. Ball of the foot on a snap kick or toes to the solar plexus. And another thing, with these roundhouse kicks that I'm throwing with the intention of landing with my toes, they're not as round as a traditional roundhouse kick where I'm hitting with the shin. The path is a little bit more direct. And that's why the chamber is super important. The chamber is when I bring my knee up to my chest and then I extend my leg into the kick. And you can see how that would bypass either going through someone's guard, in between their elbows, or around their elbows. That's kind of my aimer, is my knee. And then I can decide where the kick goes more freely. So when it comes to toe kicks, people will argue and say it's not worth the risk. And I'll say, what's not worth it? Like injuring your toes, but at what cost, right? Like if we're talking about being good versus being great, then you have to take some risk and you have to be able to elevate yourself from the rest of the competition, just like these other world champions have done in the past and continue to do. Do you want to be a local champion in amateur circuits, or do you want to be a world champion? And a lot of the world champions that I've worked with, yeah, they're using toe kicks. And these are the kind of details that we explore and we're going to continue to explore on Magnus. So if you haven't signed up yet, you got to check it out. And we also have our first in-person event. Listen, it is a 3-day summit, which is going to have some of the best names in martial arts all coming together. We have over 15 seminars and workshops that you can attend. We've got Jason Mayhem Miller coming out. Yes, the MMA legend and Bully Beatdown host. He has an incredible, immense amount of knowledge that he used throughout his career and that he now uses as a coach with his students, and he's seeing some major success. He's already got national champions that he works with. So whether it's cage and ground control, ground and pound tactics, Dagestani wrestling, chaining, striking with your wrestling, submissions, and that's just one of the hosts. We also got Luke the Chef Lisi. He's going to be serving up 5-star recipes for standout Muay Thai. We've got mental performance coaching. We've got weight cutting and management. We've got self-defense seminars going on. I'm doing a footwork workshop. We've got food trucks coming out. We're getting this event catered. We're going out in Philly and we're going to run the Rocky Museum stairs. Anyway, it's going to be awesome. And we're not just training, we're also recruiting. We're looking for 3 standout individuals and we're going to highlight them on Fight Tips. And then I'm going to ask you to vote on who you think deserves to do a full course on Magnus. So we got a little bit of a reality show going on as well. I think it makes sense with Bully Beatdown with Jason Miller that we could do this, right? Well, listen, if you can't make it out in person, May 16th through the 18th here at Cherry Hill, New Jersey at Beacon MMA, you can tune in and watch it all live because we're streaming the event for our Magnus members. So either way, I look forward to training with you. Practice them toe kicks.